This chapter starts off the next arc with a bang, and by the end of the chapter, we've met a new character, Brook, the gentleman skeleton, and Luffy asks him to join the crew.
One Piece, Chapter 442, Adventure in the Demonic Sea.
Gotta love Luffy, huh? Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, and I'm here to bring you another review on the awesome and epic and kind of undead tale of One Piece. Now, our last chapter, of course, saw us starting to dig into Volume 46, and that first chapter was actually very self-contained. It was very, very cool. It was the fight between Ace and Blackbeard in their kind of first encounter, I guess you would say, with each other, adversarial encounter, and really ended with those two. Just, I mean, it looked like it looked like a nuclear war was happening. Like I think a bomb had been dropped on this island that they were fighting on. So that's how the chapter left off, and this chapter actually winds up picking up, I'm assuming, shortly after the events of Water 7, as far as the new ship, the Thousand Sunny. The Straw Hats are on board, with Frankie, of course, having joined the crew, and they set out to sea towards the next island, which we're told is Fishman Island. So but I don't know how they're going to get there. Supposedly it's under the sea, it points down or something like that, so I guess that'll remain to be seen. However, the chapter starts out, and it's actually a pretty fun, silly one. There's some cool things happening, but really it's, for me, it was kind of familiarizing myself with the ship itself. Number one, the Thousand Sunny is a much bigger ship than the Mary was, and you can tell immediately just by the pictures that Oda draws of the characters on the ship that it's that much bigger. But it actually starts out, we find the Straw Hats, we find Luffy and company actually having caught a shark, some kind of horned shark, and dropping it in that tank that Frankie has built in, that viewing tank that you can have built in from inside the ship, and you can view from inside the ship. So they got all these other fish in there. They drop the shark in, and of course the shark starts munching everything up in there. Luffy comes down from the deck, and he's, oh boy, did you see him? Is the new one in there? He's got the horns. And Sanji's like, yeah, you idiot. But now all the other fish are gone, So Luffy's, and he goes, what'd you expect, Luffy gets all pissed off and says, oh, well, fine, you know what? Then kill him and cook him and eat him, and, just very, very funny, funny way to start off the chapter. They wind up just kind of showing, everybody just sort of sitting around as they're on their way, on their journey. We see Robin looking sexy with some fishnet stockings on and a new outfit, as well as Nami having come out of the bath, kind of the obligatory, hey, I was naked just a minute ago, for all the fanboys and stuff out there, and for all those that, that obviously like that sort of thing. So I can't say that I'm kind of indifferent about it. I don't mind it either way. I don't think it takes away from things as long as it's not done too much, and I don't think it really adds a whole lot to it either, because, it's a black and white, two-dimensional fictional character. But maybe I'll say different in the anime, who knows. But so we wind up seeing a little bit of that, just kind of a check-in with the various crew members. And Zoro winds up going and spotting from the crow's nest. He winds up spotting this barrel, right? That's out there, and the barrel says treasure on it. And apparently, we find out that what happens is they're offerings made by passing ships to try to get through maybe a dangerous part of the sea or this Florian Triangle that they're entering. And it's kind of like an offering to the gods. Sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it might be treasure, sometimes maybe, I don't know. There are just a number of different, maybe they put food in there too, I don't know. But so they wind up going and fetching the barrel and bringing it on board, and as they go to open it up over here, what I liked about it is they're talking about how you got to pray to the gods and this and that, and you get Zoro, of course, I don't believe in gods, I pray to no god. But then he goes and says something, because Luffy goes and says, oh, please, God, can we have this and that, and give us your treasure or your booze or whatever. And then Zoro's like, yeah, out of us here, who's the only one who actually beat up a god on Skypiea? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Enel was the, self-proclaimed god of Skypiea. And Luffy wound up beating his ass, So, as they go to open this thing, though, a flare winds up shooting up in the air, and then they're discussing whether it was a trap, if they gave away their position. Anyway, the kind of somewhat calmish seas wind up turning, taking a turn for the worse, and Nami can just kind of feel a storm coming on the horizon. So they wind up going, and again, this chapter served to show us a lot of different aspects of the Thousand Sunny. And we wind up seeing that they could fold up the sails and then wind up using that Cola jet propulsion system, not to have to fly through the air. That is an option, but just to actually go and paddle on its own through, you know, tumultuous waters, or if the wind is not favorable that particular day, or to get out of a storm, you know, an impending storm or what have you. So anyway, as we wind down towards the end of the chapter, all of a sudden, you know, there's a lot of fog, and they've entered the Florian Triangle, also known as the Demon's Triangle, right? And we wind up going in, and this was the cool part, and this is why I've been kind of holding the volume up over here, because the volume says Thriller Bark on it. And for some reason, this skeleton guy, and then the whole just name, Thriller Bark, it just reminds me of the song from Michael Jackson, Thriller. And, you know, for any of you who are not familiar with it, a pretty popular song, and one of the most popular videos of all time, back in the late 80s, I believe. But anyway, I just get that feeling from this. So all of a sudden, out of the fog and mist, you know, they kind of hear, yo, ho, 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 and there's this giant ship that appears behind theirs, you know, and they're thinking, oh my god, it's this ghost ship. And I mean, it looks like that kind of torn sails, you know, and there's everything just, you know, just looks and feels like creepy, like this ghost ship is here, it's upon us. They wind up going and seeing this this figure, this skeleton, the guy that's on the front over here with his afro and top hat, right? So they wind up going aboard the ship, and of course, you know, Usopp is scared as usual, so's Chopper, you know, scared witless, and Luffy, you know, and everybody they climb up on board the ship, and they start talking to this guy, you know, and he immediately he introduces himself as Brook, the gentleman skeleton, and then starts kind of hitting on Nami, right? You know, telling her how beautiful she is, this and that. And then he actually goes and he says, and she's kind of like sort of flattered, but sort of like, what the fuck? You know, it's a skeleton talking to me, right? And then all of a sudden he goes, can I see your panties? What the hell is with this guy, right? And she's like, no, you may not. And she's like, oh, a feisty one, huh? Anyway, Luffy winds up going and asking him, and this chapter was funny all around with a lot of the different aspects of it, you know, but one of them that I enjoyed was Luffy goes and he says, so do you have to poo? He's like, and Sanji's like, we got like 1,000 more questions to ask him that are more important than that. And Brook's like, yes, as a matter of fact, I do poo. And I'm like, oh my god. And they're like, Sanji's like, we don't need to know that. We need to know why this ship is here, why this, blah blah blah. You know, all this different stuff, all these like more pertinent questions. And then all of a sudden we go and we get this double-page spread, and I just love this. Never mind all that. Do you want to join my crew? And then Brook, I'd love to. And everybody's like, what? And I mean, just look, a double-page spread over here. So I don't know if this is some kind of goofy joke, or if this is like a temporary character that'll maybe come along for a little bit, but we just got Frankie to join like 2 chapters ago, and all of a sudden they meet some skeleton off in the middle of nowhere. Luffy just asks him, that's the first question, well, that's the second question after he asked him about pooing. Apparently he's qualified for the crew if he has to poo, and poo and crew. And he just goes, bam, you know. So never mind all that. You want to join my crew? So I don't know what the hell to think, man. I know it's a pretty cool chapter to start out the next arc over here, the Thriller Bark arc, and that also rhymes as well. So very, very neat stuff. And like I said, really just kind of acted as not so much a bridge chapter, but as kind of that first or second chapter into a new arc where it's kind of starting to set things up and introduce us to maybe a new character or two, or a new area or two. In this particular case, it's actually seeing the Thousand Sunny and some of its different functions, which I really like, and very, very cool stuff all around. So, but that's how the chapter ends off over there. So, my chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is, what are your thoughts on Luffy and asking this complete stranger, this skeleton with an afro, if you will, to join his crew, to join the Straw Hats? Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation. This is all possible because of you. Thanks for watching.